Welcome to the Red Web Live. I am your host, Brad West. This is our superhero critical thinking talk show, and Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
This is our first episode of 2021, and going forward, we're hoping to bring you lots of amazing content. Today, as promised, we are doing our follow-up on the Wonder Woman celebration. So this is Wonder Woman Part 2. If you were here last time before the new year, we actually did a introspective on the creation of Wonder Woman and her journey through the comic books and changes and impact on pop culture. And then we saw the movie. Hopefully you've seen it. We're going to try our very best not to give spoilers. But today we're going to be talking about Wonder Woman in other media, her journey from the page to the screen, both animation and in film and television. Of course, with me is my partner in crime fighting, Mr. Greg Burrow, on loan from us from Dragon's Lair Comics and Fantasy on Anderson Lane. So make sure you check them out, and they are one of our sponsors. Of course, the lovely Anastasia. She's always full of wit and input. I wanted her to be here. My husband is actually going to be joining us on this one. It's one of the times that he gets to be around. So Bo is here. Hey. We also have a very special guest today, Mr. Phil Machi, an Austin-based animator. Oh, there you go.
Hey.
So Phil, tell us about your project and your websites.
Sure. Well, hi guys. Thanks for having me here. First of all.
Oh, thanks for coming.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, we did it, guys. We made it.
We did it. Let's do it for another year now. So I do a podcast and live stream show here in Austin called Stay Tuned. It's a deep dive into the people who make animation possible. And most recently, I've been hired to direct a documentary about Batman the Animated Series. And so that's a really exciting project. And the film is going to be called Stay Tuned Presents Batman the Animated Series. And starting on Thursday, you can check out the official Kickstarter for the film, because we are trying to raise funds in order to make it as great as we can make it.
All right, so after the episode, guys, we're going to put that up on the page with the video, and so make sure you go and check him out and subscribe and check out the Kickstarter, because we want to see that. You're going to be an amazing guest today because you're going to have some good animation knowledge. Hopefully, we found some fun stuff that will actually surprise you too, because there's a lot of weird. A lot of weird
when it comes to Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman and her journey to the screen. Here we go.
So video number 1.
This is from a more recent movie. This is about 10 years ago, an animated film.
But as I gave you the strength to deliver yourselves from slavery, I shall now give you a new beginning.
Wonder Woman
a
animated.
new
And it's got a
home
really
on an
good
island paradise
intro
where
of
your
her
people
power,
will be shielded
her
from the
origin.
chaotic
This is the
world
origin
of
of
man.
Themyscira and of Wonder Woman herself.
Yeah.
There, you will be
I'm very
protected
familiar with
from the
this film.
ravages of time
Yeah.
and allowed
It's amazing,
to
right?
create
Extremely well
utopia.
done.
Yeah.
That you
This
might
one is on my
reclaim your
shelf,
purity
so
of
I
spirit.
like this film very much.
Yeah. That's like when I finally sat down to watch it, I was so impressed.
Yeah.
It's like,
And then the time will come when your ancient
It's one of my favorite Wonder Woman. The story
child,
is
one not
is
created
solid.
through unholy
well, these
union,
animated
will finally
movies
be
end up being
answered.
so underrated. So it's like,
They
yeah.
really are.
I mean, it depends on which ones. A couple of them are garbage.
Yeah, but a lot, unfortunately. It's one of those I was kind of expecting them all to be, and then it's like, oh, actually, this is pretty cool. And this isn't bad.
As you know, there are multiple versions of her origin. We actually are old school here. We're all about the clay baby.
It's the only one given the. Anyways.
What?
So the biggest thing for me, the biggest shock for me is that you have this amazing character, and she isn't even attempted to get a television show or a movie serial or anything like that until the 1960s. Batman, it took 4 years since his creation to become a movie serial, and Superman actually it took 10 years before he got a movie serial. But it was like years and years
Superman
later.
managed to get into the Fleischer animation.
Yeah.
And there was even a Justice League cartoon in filmation before
The 1960s.
and
Yeah.
before 1960s, and it omitted Wonder Woman altogether.
Yeah, they put the Atom
She
in.
just got no love.
Yeah, she got no love. As a matter of fact, Phil Machi did a ton of DC superhero cartoons. Atom, Hawkman, Aquaman.
And there were no toys
Flash.
yet. So we can't use the excuse that she doesn't sell action figures. We'll get to
Right.
that one later.
The one woman that did show up in those Fleischer cartoons was in the Teen Titans. They actually did do Wonder Girl. So Wonder Girl actually got on the screen before Wonder Woman.
Fun, weird fact.
Yeah.
Wonder Girl was in a pilot for a Teen Titans spinoff to the Justice League, and that was the first time they used a Wonder Person.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
Makes you wonder.
I'm sorry.
I said it makes you wonder.
It does. It does. The next time Wonder Woman pops up is in an attempt to
And also we have to talk about the 1950s. We had the George Reeves Superman also,
yeah,
which was super popular, right? And then come 1960s, they actually did a pilot for a Wonder Woman show there. So video number 2, please.
We apologize in advance.
This one is truly awful.
And please make sure the audio is playing on this one.
I do kind of like that showing the comic book stuff, although it's too brief.
Yeah.
Kevin, is the audio playing?
Should be for him at least.
Hopefully.
Here we could just do our own sound effects. Whoa! Oh, sorry, Mom.
For some reason, she's hopeless and
Thank you.
Better
Seems so quiet here tonight.
For like a Clark Kent effect or something,
There
it's
are no
really
trains
strange.
out tonight
She's
making
not
all that.
She's not hiding from people.
No,
She's
right?
home with her mother.
That's it.
Oh, I agree. It's ridiculous.
I still didn't 100% understand that.
I'm not sure either. Is she
It's
supposed to be
raining cats and
Hippolyta,
dogs.
or is she her dead mom while she's
Fine, must be
visiting? You know?
Yeah.
Mother, I won't be having any dinner tonight.
I never got
dinner.
context
Oh, don't
past
be
that,
silly.
so I
Where do you think all that
it's a
strength comes
mystery.
from? Those
Also,
dogs?
how old is she?
No.
Like
that's
2
mine.
million?
I have
That's
to
what they
help
say, is that
Steve.
they-
Waiting
they-
at the airport, and there are no planes. Look,
expanded her
you're
age
not so smart
quite a
that you
bit.
can't take a mother's
Well,
advice.
and then
Now,
she
this
says
is no kind of a night for you to be flying around in that outfit.
Yeah,
of
28,000.
yours.
That's
This
right.
is
And
the
she
kind
goes
of a night for you
27.
to watch
She's like, what's a
TV or read the
thousand?
newspaper.
Yeah.
Eat your roughage. But the fate of the free world depends on me. All right. Eat first. Save the free
That's kind
will
of a wow
later.
moment for me.
You can't be a
because it's
decent
like, oh,
martyr
yeah,
on an empty
they're
stomach.
she's supposed to be 27,
What kind of a
28-ish, and I'm like, oh.
pain in a mother's heart.
Oh,
His
God,
daughter
and
is
now they're
single
like,
and
I'm
28 million
17.
years old.
Oh,
27.
right.
Oh, what's a
Just-
million? All right, Diana. Save
Also,
the
is
world.
her mom
But
from
don't forget to wear your
Themyscira?
galoshes.
That's
There's
what
a job
I'm
to be
saying.
done.
We
By
know
Wonder
that.
Woman.
Supposed to be Hippolyta acting like, an overbearing house mom?
Also,
Or
why does she have a mystery spinning wall in her?
Wonder
Why
Woman,
would she be
who
like
knows
that?
she has the strength of Hercules, who knows she has the wisdom
She
of
knows she
Athena,
has the strength of
who
Hercules.
knows
She knows
she
she
has
has
the
the wisdom
speed
of
of Mercury,
This is one of those
And
things
who
where it's,
thinks
you just don't ask
she has
questions
the
because the
beauty of
answers are going to
Aphrodite.
disappoint you every time.
I don't know. It's like, it's so
And you guys
organized.
can watch more of this on YouTube.
Yes, the whole thing is on YouTube if you dare.
But how much of it is? Is it whole episodes?
No, it's just 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's just a 5-minute promo reel that they were using for investors and that they very smartly turned down.
Yeah.
Yeah, just enough for you to get the vibe.
All right, so
Hollywood
You guys skipped over the part where she does a little feet kick thing. That's the best part.
Right.
No, we can't subject anybody to too much of that. That's just not right. But so we wanted you to kind of see. We wanted you to kind of
Right.
see. This is the mentality of Hollywood at the time for a female hero. Was that she had to still, especially in the post-war 60s kind of shit stuff. Oops, sorry. Where they're trying to force women into this like domestic role, and so this like domestic Wonder Woman. It's
Well,
just
it's the
so wrong in so many ways.
I mean, it's the 60s, so you've got the combination of, okay, all the men are back home, so you guys need to get in your roles, and then also, all
You
these
know-
dirty feminists wanting equality.
You know what actually
Let's
surprises
just
me?
dig it back a little.
What surprises me is they went with trying to make something campy like Batman, and I get that. What really surprises me is that they should have done something like, I don't know, everybody's gonna hate this, but I could have pictured Steve Trevor finding Wonder Woman very similar manner to how what's his name found Jeannie on the beach. And
You
they
know
make
what?
it that kind of. If it had Steve Trevor and he was having to deal with like
Well,
all
she
of the
was talking about
weirdness.
how she had to go save Steve Trevor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
If
kind of
that would have been in it, I could have seen it maybe as something.
Yeah, but
right,
because,
kind of like a WandaVision vibe. where-
yeah,
Yeah.
because that
Well, you also
formula was
have to-
really big, and it was because they were able to sell things.
Yeah.
You also have to remember, though, that the camp of the 1966 Batman was not totally unintentional. They had Adam West and Burt Ward play it straight.
Oh, yeah.
All the camp came from just how ridiculous it was and how serious they took themselves. That's not what they were trying for that. I mean, they're throwing shade at her when they're going that she knows she's strong. She knows she's smart. She thinks she's pretty.
Right?
It's like, wow, really?
Yeah, that was pretty cold. But again, it took over 20 years for them to even attempt to get Wonder Woman on TV. Where,
And then they
again,
folded.
Batman 4 years, Superman took 10 years. The next attempt was actually video number 3, The
This is
Brady
a fun
Bunch
fact.
Kids. It's a Greek to me. Came out in 1972, and it's the first appearance of Wonder Woman, and it was voiced by actress Jane Webb.
It's like since you're a more cartoon historian, this will be fun for you.
Yeah, the
I think-
actual
I think all of
first
it's pretty
appearance of
fun.
Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
in
it sounds
media
funner when we say
outside
historian.
outside of the comic books. This is the first
You have to
appearance.
also remember that in the Super Friends cartoon, she got nerfed quite a bit.
Oh
Yeah.
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 But she was still amazing in the Super Friends cartoon. I think she was a positive role model in the Super Friends cartoon.
Yeah, it's just that, standards and practices didn't really allow action to be a thing that they showed in an action cartoon, which is strange.
But that was for all of them.
That feels like that makes sense, but it's also like, wait, what?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So they had them fighting like giant spiders in one episode,
Or robots.
or robots.
The computer taking over the city.
So anyway, Brady Bunch Kids cartoon, and this is
That's Diana Prince right there.
Diana Prince is the history teacher or librarian?
Mathematician.
Math teacher. Okay, she's the math
She's
teacher.
an assistant. Assistant,
Assistant math teacher. Okay.
She's not a teacher. She's
I-
an assistant mathematician in the library.
Either way, she snuck into this Brady Bunch episode.
Yeah.
And just.
See, I thought she was in the
This kind of reminds me of Scooby-Doo movies,
Yes.
Yes.
right.
where you had just special guest stars showing up with Scooby-Doo every week.
Right. They probably did it more on the cartoon than we didn't dig into it that hard.
They did do Superman before Wonder Woman.
Oh, okay.
Cindy's Super Friend, Super Pal or something like that. Was the episode?
I mean,
Alright.
I like the design of the character.
Yeah.
I love that.
I love her
Oh,
jumping
that
off.
was like the worst possible run off a cliff moment.
It's like a living splat.
That was, oh wow.
Interesting use of the lasso of truth.
To tow barge. So,
Yeah.
I love that they used the Golden Age costume in this.
well, that's the only costume there was yet. They didn't start changing it until much later.
Well, next year in the Super Friends, her costume is a little bit more modern.
Is
Well,
it?
that side eye though.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I love the animation they do of her thinking where she's tapping her
Tapping her
cheek.
finger, yeah.
I don't understand these animals, but whatever.
It was the sixth.
It was Filmation. It was
Yeah,
done by
exactly.
Filmation.
It's like still magical talking animals was always such a trip.
Yeah.
It's like it wasn't enough that they talked. Now we had to also make them magic.
Yeah, it's just the fact that the bird has wings, but he flies by spinning his tail into a helicopter.
And he's magical.
So, like, why did they even bother with a bird?
I mean, I don't see a problem with anything.
What are we doing here?
You can't do that if they're flapping.
I don't yeah.
But yeah, Jane Webb was the actress who did the voice of Wonder Woman, so she is the first person to give voice to Wonder Woman.
Bird must have magic powers.
There's a side of it again.
Look at that side eye. Oh my gosh, it's so good.
Here in ancient Greece, until I have a chance to become.
Oh, gotta love the. I kind of want to change my profile picture now and make it her doing that.
Right? Anybody who needs any images.
I want to get her back
How
close
did we get here?
That's great. Right, those close-ups belong on He-Man.
Man, that was a weird bird.
There's a weird bird.
You know, what's weird about that bird is not that he flies with his tail like a helicopter, it's that he goes butt first. Even tails doesn't do that.
In less precise terms, the crowd's auxiliary
Yes,
athletes
it's
will
like you have the
participate in
nerd
the
and then
games
you have
starting
the jock.
tomorrow.
This is the nerd. Yeah, this is the whole story. It's the nerd versus jock. So you got like this overbearing Olympic athlete and then the Tommy the mathematician. And
So odd. I feel like we're watching a fractured fairy tale.
It's surreal. I'm not telling you, at home, folks, diving into this. That's why we're going to have a slightly longer episode today, because they're so surreal when we learn all this stuff. And there was a couple of times where I would, like, we watched something and all of us were just like, everybody was just
We're only showing clips here. We're not showing full episodes, so you can definitely find these episodes. But
Yeah, the boys say.
Look, everyone, it's the theme of our show. If you blinked, you dismissed her.
He's Miss Wonder Woman in her first ever animated appearance. So.
The Brady kids.
but even here, she's like,
Jazz hands.
History must recall the feats of your great athletes, as they will be accomplished on this
It's
field.
like she transitions so fast too.
Yeah.
It's always like a
Yeah,
minute.
now she looks like Gal Gadot. Look at that. That was a great transition.
Yeah.
All right, so we talked about the Super Friends before, and it'll come up many times. And,
we love the Super Friends, at least I do.
Yes. Now, just to make sure you know, back at home, if you haven't heard this before, during the time of the Super Friends and the war in Vietnam and the unpopularity of the military at the time, the cartoon creators wanted to distance themselves from anything too military sounding. So Justice League sounded military. They wanted to soften up. That's where.
Well, while we're talking about this, let's play video clip number 4.
Yeah, clip 4. So we get the Super Friends, and one of the ways that they softened it up was they put Wonder Woman in it.
They also softened it up by having it be no action.
Yes.
And I want to say that I want to give a shout out to Shannon Barnum. She was the Wonder Woman voice actress in Super Friends until the last season when Betty Jean Ward took over. But so for 10 years or more, maybe, it was Shannon Barnum, and
the thing I love the most about Superman Wonder Woman is the flip, is the hair flip.
It's like, but how would you know she's a girl if she doesn't do the hair flip?
See, look at the style of
Batman.
Yeah, she's got the
this is only a year after the
Hey, Dynamite.
Yeah.
Dynamite was in there. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
No, that was Wonder Dog.
Oh, Wonder Dog. Sorry.
Yeah, they're the same color.
Wendy, Marvin,
Oh yeah,
and
now I
Wonder
can
Dog.
see. Yeah, very similar to Dynamite.
Their mission to fight
The Hall of
injustice, to
Justice.
right that
I
which
know
is
that
wrong,
place.
and to serve
Right?
all mankind.
How convenient.
But yeah, so that was the first season of Wonder the Super Friends. I thought there was more of the seasons there, but that's fine. That's great. I love that. I love the Super Friends.
And you were talking about the character designs.
The character designs were actually done by Alex Todd.
Who was a big animation designer back
Well,
then.
he was a big artist, period.
You might know him
writing
from
comics as well as
shows like
It's
Space
like
Ghost.
Yeah,
So what?
extra friend, educate us more.
I said you might know Alex Toth from things like Space Ghost,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Herculoids,
Hercules, Johnny Quest.
the Barbarian.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of animation. Finally, we get something live action in 1974.
So, since we have started doing this, I have been constantly ridiculed for the fact that I enjoyed the heck out of this next one. Yes, it was awful. I enjoyed the heck out of this
There's
one.
nothing wrong with liking things that nobody else likes. I've made a
But
career.
this is video number 5 is Kathy Lee Crosby as Wonder Woman in a made-for-TV movie.
A complete
And
list
this
of all
was
our agents in the
74.
field has been stolen.
I have never
Our
seen
people will be
this.
at their
I've
mercy
never
for the
seen
next
this
3
before.
days.
It's the first attempt, and
Times like this, I really worry about you.
Thanks.
Wonder Woman, she's here. I won't underestimate you. I'll kill her.
Angela is not to be trusted. I will take your
like I
life.
said earlier,
Kill her.
one of the things that television shows for that time
And
did
he was my favorite villain.
Is that Ricardo Montalban?
Yes, it is. Ricardo Montalban. He's my favorite villain.
Well, this show has got way cooler.
we're still in the period of time of television when actresses wear is what inspires fashion. So they get a lot of their money for selling or for production from the clothes. And so they had her in like a lot of really cool outfits. So I think
it's like, because for what it's worth, I may be in the minority, but if someone sold that even now for the Wonder Woman thing, I'd buy it.
buy it. But I'm sorry.
I feel like the 70s vibe works really well with this.
Yeah, and they were trying to make it.
It's like the Kung Fu thing was kind of a trend, but that was like the time.
But they were kind of trying to make it a little bit more espionage, history kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's where they kind of put her in that little
With the
part.
Kung Fu, because Kung Fu matters at that time.
Well, and you don't see it in this clip, but there's a bit where she's on Themyscira still, or at that point, I think it's still Paradise Island. And even then, you're getting diversity also, because it's not just all white Amazon chicks, which never
they had
made any sense because they should have all been Greek anyways. But
when they were saying bye to the
when she's saying bye to her friends,
she's saying bye to the other Amazons. They've got like
you've
some
got
of
a blonde
everybody
one,
there.
you've got a African American one, you've got a Asian
Benetton
one.
ad.
Yeah,
it's great.
It was cool. It kind of reminded me if you've ever watched Xanadu. I love that movie.
Yes.
And in the beginning, you got the muses, and they're like from all over the world, and it kind of felt like that, with like all the muses.
I'm
So
not
video number
necessarily
6,
a fan of
because it
I'm sorry,
is-
the what?
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily a giant fan of major corporations, but I feel like it's a little bit of a missed opportunity to not have a tie-in with Amazon.com with Wonder Woman.
One day they'll realize.
It was like, oh wait, we're actually in Amazon. Oh, okay.
It's like when Jeff Bezos suddenly realizes he needs more money. I'm sure they'll realize.
So video number 6 is obviously probably the most famous up until the recent stuff. Linda Carter is Wonder Woman. 1975 was season 1. It ran for 3 seasons, and Linda Carter obviously is the Wonder Woman for several generations of fans.
So this happens a year after the Cassidy Crosby one, where they obviously took some artistic liberties, and it didn't really go very well. This actual Wonder Woman show, when it came out, was actually named the new original Wonder Woman. That was the actual name of the.
Can we talk about how awesome these credits though are? Like,
I agree. Yeah.
I kind of wish they would have just taken that and made a show out of that.
They probably could have. Every time I see this kind of openings, I'm like, oh.
I love the
rotoscope.
Where they
they rotoscoped it.
Yeah.
Hey.
That was so fun. I love that.
Well, one of the other things I enjoyed about that version of Wonder Woman is the 3 seasons weren't all, they were more or less kind of self-contained.
Yeah.
You know,
right?
you didn't have to watch them all together to get the entire story.
Right.
You know.
First season was World War II. Second season was modern day.
Yeah. So the first season was in World War II, and they were trying to be closer to the comic book. But then it switched networks, and the new network, I can't remember if it was CBS to ABC or vice versa or whatever. But when it went over to the other network, they didn't want to spend the money, and it's still true today. Most places, people don't like to do period pieces because period sets are expensive. It's so much easier to do things in a contemporary setting. And that's why when they took over it and they brought it to the future or the present time, because it was a lot cheaper than keeping up with World War II sets and vehicles and costuming and stuff like that. By the time you get to the end of the 3rd season, and it's actually kind of interesting, if you watch the very last episode, you can tell they're actually setting up for a complete different change. It's like a pilot for a whole new change again, but it didn't get picked up. It's actually kind of interesting because they move her to California at the very end as her own. Now she's the lead in Steve's job in California, and then a whole new cast of characters, like a whole new cast in that last episode. But then they canceled it. So it's actually kind of cool, some of the weird things in there. A lot of the main thing that's really good is that in the first season they did use the Countess Paula von Gravel, right? Yeah, so it's the character that manages to get somewhere in every version of her. So
Now next is image 6A and 6B, 1993. To the sorrow of all of us animation fans, and Mattel bought the rights for Wonder Woman for a toy line and for a cartoon line. There was actually a DC comic that was produced.
It was released in cereal boxes, I think. Was how it got out.
So Wonder Woman and the Star Riders. They were not going to use Wonder Woman's history at all. It was going to be a completely new
They
thing,
just needed
right?
Basically, they wanted Wonder Woman name recognition. So they bought the animation rights to just Wonder Woman, and separated her from everything else. And they were already She-Ra was going out and everything, and Rainbow Rite was going out and everything, and they were trying to make a new doll figure line for girls on that kind of premise, like She-Ra was, but put Wonder Woman instead. And they were also kind of following the environmental tone of the time, where everybody was really working on like
Captain Planet
and stuff like that. So the idea was going to be that Wonder Woman was going to lead this new team of heroes who are given elemental powers like water and earth and fire, etc., and help them to protect the earth. And the weird thing about this is that they put the cart before the horse, basically. So we kind of grew up with that whole, the action figure tying into the cartoon thing. They were so sure that the cartoon was going to be a success that they produced the toys and the comic book, and the toys were even at Toy Fair to sell in 1993. But there was never actually an animated series produced.
Well, so for me, the thing I found funny when doing the research on this one was you can find a video on YouTube or somewhere of pretty much everything we have talked about, whether it's just a short clip or it even happens to be a whole episode. Not for this.
No, they got the character designs out and everything.
There was never even apparently any animation done for this one.
So it's actually a fun one. And the only reason that this one's really, really important, because we're obviously doing Wonder Woman in other media, is because it actually impeded the other properties from using Wonder Woman.
Locked her up.
It locked her up because she was still in the rights that Mattel had. So even though on both Batman animated series and then the Superman one that followed, the Bruce Timm ones, they had tons of guest stars. They never had Wonder Woman. Even in Batman Beyond, when they went to the future, to the Justice League, it was originally written to have Wonder Woman in it, but they told her, unfortunately, we still can't use Wonder Woman, and instead they put Big Barda to replace her. And so if you ever wondered why it took Wonder Woman so long to join the rest of the Bruce Timm universe, that's why.
Yeah. Which is why I said at the outset that much to the sorrow of us animation fans.
Yes.
That happened. But in 1996, Ivan Reitman actually was looking to produce and direct a Wonder Woman film, but nothing came from that. The next time we see Wonder Woman is actually in the Justice League animated series on Cartoon Network in 2001.
It's my time. It's here.
Because by that time, the animation rights. By the time the animation rights.
Video 7.
Yeah. She played Video 7. So anyway, but now her rights are free and they get to introduce her. And that's actually, it worked out, I think, because they kind of went with the George Perez Crisis on Infinite Earths when they reset Wonder Woman, but she was freshly new to man's world. This actually kind of mirrors that. All the other heroes are established and she's the rookie and she's kind of a little bit more naive. And I think because she came late to the game, they actually added a fun.
I don't know what it is. I love this opening. I remember being a kid and being like, oh my god, this looks great.
I don't know.
It's my favorite version of Wonder Woman.
Yes.
This is also, this
Like,
was
out
what
of
I got exposed to.
Out of everything they've done in any of the direct-to-videos, in any of the live-action, this is my favorite version of Wonder Woman.
Wow. It does not surprise me. I love a lot of the elements about this, and I'll talk about that in a second. I do want to quickly say that Susan Eisenberg was the voice actress for Wonder Woman during this.
Was and is.
Still is. Neat.
So.
She's actually making a big push on Twitter recently in the last year or so for them to continue to do more Justice League projects.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she's so cool. I'm so down.
Who's doing the new one? The brand new. Oh, that's the end. I'll Google that.
So video 8 is one of my favorite scenes in Justice League. It was season 1, episode 1, and it was the characters were first coming together. The first time that they met each other, so they didn't know each other's powers very well. And
they still work almost cohesively to start this out, though.
yeah. But it starts one of the things that runs through the entire Justice League cartoon that I absolutely love, which is the subtle romance between Wonder Woman and Batman.
Absolutely, I'm right there with you, Greg. And interestingly enough, they have her flying from the get-go.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we actually we'll touch on that when we talk about the movies too.
Yeah.
It's
and
Gorilla
I thought it was
City.
cool that they're saving Gorilla City.
Well, and I like that they still at some point have an invisible plane, and like the Flash is like, what do you need a plane for? You can already fly, and she's like, well, why do you have a car? You can run everywhere. Because it's fun.
And the dramatic tension of this is just so great.
Yeah.
No, this show broke so many barriers of just the way they were doing superhero shows. They just kind of threw everything they could at this show.
Yeah.
Yes,
I just love how Batman's down there. He's digging in the dirt, trying to get her out.
It's like, yeah, for a lot of the millennial youngins like me, this was our first exposure to this.
I know we're talking about Wonder Woman and everything, but while we're on Justice League cartoon, I only really ever had one complaint about that.
What?
The gross mistreatment of Martian Manhunter. I mean, he had a glass jaw.
Oh yeah. They didn't
I think they probably had to do that because he's essentially another Superman. So
yeah.
They had to find something.
That was always kind of one of the problems with him on Justice League.
And I love how here she takes the lead.
Yeah. It's like, and they power pose here real hard. And I'm still
he hides his hands.
I'm still like, I shipped it. Yeah. Most important.
And that started the subtle romance. And I loved all the little bits we would get throughout the years, and I was always craving more.
I love when Cersei.
How about the one where they were all turned into children and they had?
I love that episode. And then she's like trying to make Batman jealous by like saying, "I'm gonna go with Clark."
Flirting with Clark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Clark is just like clueless the whole time.
He's like, "Yeah, I'm down."
Oh my god.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. And I love like
I like when they're talking, when it's her and Batman on the one rooftop and they're talking, and he's listing off reasons why he would never date someone on the team because, you know, not being able to protect themselves. She crushes the stone next to him and goes, "Your next one."
Right. So Video 9, obviously, Justice League led into Justice League Unlimited.
Yeah.
So if you can play Video 9.
And that was basically a team up concept where they can introduce a lot more cool characters from DC stock, but they managed to keep Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman as the more recurring ones. So
But beyond that, though, it was really an exercise in serial storytelling as far as having a through line with the Cadmus Project through the whole thing.
Yeah.
My favorite one from this with Wonder Woman was when she was with Hawk and Dove. That's an excellent one to really see Wonder Woman.
Also, my favorite version of Black Canary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of cool versions of characters.
Yeah. Also, my favorite version of Aquaman.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, it's sad though. My favorite DC character does not appear in this at all.
Who's that?
Firestorm.
Well, you really dug into the D list.
This happens every time.
He is my favorite. It's the first comic book I ever bought with my own money.
Did they have nothing else available?
I loved it. I loved it at the time because he was very Spider-Man-like. He's very Peter Parker-like. And I love the character of Firestorm. And they wanted to actually use him. There's one episode where Paul Dini was talking about it was supposed to be Firestorm. For whatever reason, they wouldn't let him use it, and so they used Booster Gold instead.
Yeah, but how great of a Booster Gold version was that?
It was a really good Booster Gold episode, though. So I'm not Batman.
Well, I mean,
I'm not
all I
Batman.
gotta say is Paul Dini. I don't think I need to go any further than that.
Right.
So right here, I'm going to do a note. I did put a couple pictures up, but I don't know if our producer got them in time. The Joss Whedon 2006 Wonder Woman attempt that never got past pre-production. I can't say the last name, but Shauna Tripsick did the designs for the Wonder Woman costume. She was also the costume designer for Mandalorian, Firefly, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. She did a lot of costume design for Hollywood through the years, and her Wonder Woman designs were really actually kind of interesting. She saw her more of kind of like in jeans and stuff.
Okay.
But
I'm down.
But the script was out there, but we haven't been able to find it.
Yeah, they got scrubbed. I had it once. A friend of mine worked at the print shop with me, and it was just the first scene, but it was interesting. And then when you watch the Patty Jenkins one, there's a scene where it kind of almost stole it from the Whedon script, because he actually has her get hit with a bullet, because she doesn't know what a gun is. The first time she encounters a gun, it hits her, and even though it doesn't hurt her, even though it doesn't puncture her or whatever, it still hurts.
Right.
And so it's that after that, then she starts deflecting the bullets, because now she knows what they are.
Yeah.
And they kind of did something similar in the Patty Jenkins movie, where
they just, killed someone else.
They killed somebody else with the bullet. That was the first time she learned what they were. But
yeah. And I saw some quotes from Joss Whedon where he was saying that he saw her being kind of like Angelina Jolie. So that's where he was kind of aiming for his Wonder Woman.
It's like
where she was like a globetrotter, and she like went around the world doing good things and stuff like that.
That makes sense.
So,
yeah, the way this is transitioning, like movies and film wise, it's like, yeah, it would have been Angelina Jolie by then.
And that's why I thought, she would have been right after like Mr. and Mrs. Smith. So like, she was really in shape for that.
I think Tomb Raider was later for that.
No, Tomb Raider was before that.
Yeah.
It's like, but we're getting around that time where it's like she's a big old hit right now.
So, but she wasn't cast or anything. They got this. They never even finished the script. The script.
Correct.
The executives at Warner Brothers didn't like the script, and they kept on going back and forth with the script to a point where Joss Whedon and then finally decided that they weren't going to agree.
He just gave up.
And so they went their separate ways. So video number 10 is the 2008 Justice League movie, New Frontier, which is one of my favorites.
It's a really great Wonder Woman.
I
got a kick out of
this show so much. The comic is even better.
If you don't at least watch the show, but if you can read the comic, it's got so much more of amazing. It's set in the 60s, right?
50s and 60s.
Yeah,
right after World War II.
Right after World War II.
Through the Korean War.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was into the Korean War.
It's into the Korean War.
Well,
because that's where you see Wonder Woman.
Yes.
Well, and considering the name of it, I'm like, yeah, it has to be closer to that time.
Yeah. Because it is from the quote. It is from the.
Of course, this is all thanks to the designs of Darwin Cook.
Darwin Cook was amazing.
Yeah.
He won multiple awards for this comic book. Like it's still to this day one of the best DC comic reads you can do. It's a self-contained. It's kind of a what if, and it puts them all their origins kind of a little bit together, and it gives you a chance to really good character. They managed to get enough action, but between Green Lantern and Flash and Superman and Martian Manhunter, even Batman, there's like really amazing character development moments.
And I love the Wonder Woman design in this, because they go between the Golden Age era style where they had her in the
peplum,
the skirt and whatnot, and instead of putting her in the bathing suit, they gave her the actual peplum and everything.
Which is
and the best thing about New Frontier is that Lucy Lawless is the voice of Wonder Woman.
That's awesome.
Are you sure the best part of it isn't Dinosaur Island? Because
okay.
There's so much good about that movie. It's not even funny. Literally, Flash's elements are absolutely amazing and on point. The Batman stuff was just absolutely amazing and on point. Wonder Woman, that's with Justice League. That's one of my favorite Wonder Woman scenes of all time is in this film.
Especially when she's she's a little bit taller than Superman too.
What do you mean a little bit? She's looking down at him.
Yes,
I love it.
Well, she's also standing on the table looking down at him.
It's like
when they're standing face.
And if you want to sit and watch any of these cartoon movies, all of these are on HBO Max right now.
Yes.
So that's what I sat and did, and just marathons them all.
Or just come and hang out with me because I own all of them.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm always down.
Same here. Same here.
All right. So now we get to 2009, and this is the first time.
Video number 11.
Video number 11. The first time that Wonder Woman actually is the star and not just one of the other characters or an ensemble. This is all about Wonder Woman 2009. This is the animated movie just called Wonder Woman, DC Direct-to-Video. And we showed you the origin of the Amazons at the beginning of it, and that's what came of this episode. And it came from this animation, which is really cool.
It's really.
It's one of our complaints here is that, and we said it on the last episode with the comic books, creators tend to kind of want to push her into being Xena. And she's not Xena. And she's not a female Superman. She's a different entity altogether.
Agreed.
This animation does a pretty good job of balancing the compassionate, learned, diplomatic Wonder Woman, but she's still a badass when she needs to be. Mm-hmm. You know, she's not as aggressive, but she can hold her own. She grew up a warrior.
I'm sorry. My favorite scene from that one is when she first gets to Man's World and finds the little girl sitting on the bench crying. Why are you crying? They won't let me play with them because girls can't fight. Well, okay. First of all, they're doing it wrong. she gives her pointers on how to properly sword fight, and then she unleashes her on the boys.
The most important solidarity.
Yeah, so it's a good watch. And it's a shame that the follow-up one wasn't quite.
We'll get there. We'll get there. So video number 12, 2011, Batman Brave and the Bold. Just one of many of her appearances in other shows. I mean, she was in Young Justice, and she did some amazing scenes in Young Justice. That's later on. We're not going to show all of them, but this one kind of stands out because I love this so much because the fact that it kind of flips the entire damsel in distress thing on its head. And Steve Trevor is the damsel in distress in this.
Yeah, she's basically saving her. And that's the Baroness, right?
Yeah, that's the Baroness.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Baroness when Luther she ends up in, like, she was in the Linda Carter show. She's been in just about everything. Yeah. She's one of the trademark characters.
This is an interesting series because it takes a turn from, or a page from the 66 Adam West show. Very over the top, very campy. It knows it's campy, it's not trying to hide it.
Right, it was such a joy, though.
Right.
It was a good refresh.
I'm not insulting it, I'm saying that that's just, it's a different take on the whole thing, but
oh, yeah.
They made it work really well, and they had lots of different DC characters guest starring every single.
I
also had Hanna-Barbera. I loved when they brought Space Ghost.
Now that you're here, Angel.
Yes.
That's my favorite thing about it is that
They brought Space Ghost into this show?
Oh, yeah,
they did. Oh, it's a great episode.
I must have missed that one. That's weird.
The formula for this show is before the credits, there was always a secondary mini adventure team up.
Yep.
So one of the episodes, the team up is with Batman, Space Ghost, and
so it wasn't the full story. It was just.
It wasn't the full episode.
No, it kind of stuck in there.
It was still enough of a stinger that it was straight up Batman and Space Ghost. It was good.
Well, that's cool. I'll have to check that out. I don't know how I missed that. I'm a huge fan.
This one was totally worth it. This one's always worth a rewatch to me.
Yeah. This is one of those times where I just was so disappointed in the toxic fan community.
Yeah.
Because they were making fun of the style of it, and they hated the style of it.
People had to warm up to this one.
The style of what? Of the series?
Yeah.
Well, because I think what happened to us, like when I was growing up watching this stuff, is that we had all of these beautiful, in-depth, super serious things, and then you had this thing that's sort of like it's silly and it's campy, and people were like, no, I'm gonna hate this, and I think it took like a season for people to be like, wait a minute, actually this is really good.
This is really good. It's deeper. It's deeper than we expected.
I loved Aquaman in this.
Yeah.
Let me tell you a story.
Oh my god.
Sure. If you watch our Christmas episode, like, you know.
And this show is the reason to watch the show.
Yeah.
off of the jet.
You really are Wonder Woman.
I mean, I think that design on her is really fantastic.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like the Darwin Cook stuff, honestly.
Yeah.
So, Brave and the Bold, give that a watch.
Yeah, Batman Brave and the Bold is worth watching all together.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I mean, I loved that they did Wonder Woman right in this, though, where they really, she was a hero in this. She wasn't like, needing anyone's help. She she could have done everything herself, and it was awesome. And I love that Steve Trevor was such a damsel in distress in this. He was like,
Yeah.
I just loved it.
All right. So, the same year,
This one's gonna be fun.
the folks over at the CW decided they were going to make.
Define fun.
I don't think it was.
You know
CW.
what? It was something.
It was going to be CW.
I don't think it was CW.
It had to have been CW.
I want to say it was CW.
Like the
Really?
style of this, it had to have been.
The,
Okay,
sty-
well,
the style of it is very CW.
Whoever was making
Yeah.
it was
Yeah, the
basically
style is very CW.
given the Smallville.
Well, the
treatment to
person who
Wonder
made it was actually the person that did Ally McBeal.
Woman. Oh, okay, yeah, right.
Yeah, it's like, and this is it's like in putting it in place. This is
Don't lose my
the
page.
Pretty Little Liars era. So this is cute,
Yeah.
mean girls in cute dresses. It's like, and it's very much like if you've watched any shows during this time, it fits into it like near perfectly.
I'll tell you what though, if it got a full season run, I wouldn't have been surprised. It looks just like all the other stuff that came out around that time.
Yeah.
People would have eaten this up. Even if all the more traditionalist people wouldn't have, people would have eaten this up.
Yeah, the only positive
Well,
thing
let's play the first clip.
Play
Video 13A. We're going to play 2 clips from this 2011 Wonder Woman TV pilot with Adrian Flocke, who was my...
But the close combat was actually kind of interesting. And then when you get to the boardroom scene.
Yeah, let's play 13B. So this is the boardroom.
I don't doubt that they were gravity defying. I'm just saying from an entertainment standpoint, it just
Right. You were just watching them go, and it's like, all right, man, cool.
So, and anyway, ultimately it didn't get picked up, which is weird because
People would have eaten this up.
and it got a lot of press.
This
I
would
think
have
there
been
was a lot of backflack, though, especially with the costume. When they saw her wearing pants, they were really upset because that wasn't what was in the comics. And that's why they changed their pants from super shiny blue to dark blue, and I think the dark blue worked.
Yeah.
I actually like the pants. I think
Really
the pants,
cheap.
the pants were good, I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the pants.
Yeah,
Well, my big issue was
The
all of it.
violent
yeah, I take exceptional issue with how violent they want to make Wonder Woman right now.
Oh yeah.
But the thing with the costume that bugged me was that it wasn't even consistent scene to scene when she had the pants.
Well,
because
that's
in the
because
opening
they
scene,
hadn't done the special effects.
Right.
Yeah, they were.
but in the opening scene, she had the darker pants. They weren't all shiny and everything.
Yeah.
And then she gets off the elevator, and those pants might as well be vinyl.
Well,
or
they said right
whatever.
there, special effects missing darkened pants.
Yeah.
I kind of had to
That's
give it
what
a
we're
little
saying.
leeway since it was a test run.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
do. too.
You have to keep in mind
But
that
what
they-
we're getting into, so we're warning you guys out.
But also, I think the biggest complaint that all of us had was that there's a scene where she's talking to a mother whose son has been overdosed on these drugs. And she's trying to talk the mother down.
Oh,
And at first,
she's being
great.
all
She's
compassionate
wonderful
and it's
compassionate, and it's exactly what we
it's-
want from Wonder Woman. And then she turns around, she says, "Don't worry about vengeance. I am vengeance. I will
That's
take care
my
of it.
job."
That's my job." And we're like, "No, your job is
it's not.
justice. It's not vengeance."
Justice, not vengeance. Yeah.
Even Batman's not about vengeance anymore.
Just
But anyway,
it was such a weirdly wasted opportunity with this guy.
I just hate how violent they want to make Wonder
All
Woman.
I'm saying
And
is,
they want to drain her of that compassion that makes her who she is.
I'm glad because I really, really liked her on Shield. Like, Mockingbird and Hunter were like my favorite characters on Shield. And unfortunately, poor Adrian Pilecki, same thing happened to her. They were popular enough that ABC wanted to do a spinoff with them, so they wrote them off of Shield. And somewhere in the internet verse, and we'll find it someday, is a pilot for a Mockingbird Hunter show by themselves called Marvel's Most Wanted. But it didn't get picked up. And so I'm like, you took her off the show for no good reason. Y'all could have just left her. But anyway, so then she ended up on the Orville, but whatever.
So, video 14, we're going to talk about the 2013 Wonder Woman fan film directed by Jesse Johnson, and Wonder Woman is played by Nina Bergman, who is a recording artist. She's actually pretty amazing.
Yeah. Since you've dabbled in film more, it's like these have been cool, so I want to see what he thinks.
Yeah.
I want to see what our guest thinks about this.
I've definitely never seen this.
Oh.
It's interesting.
It's a fan film. There's a lot of fan films out there, but I think this is among the best.
And you'll definitely be able to find the link for it after the show on the site. So
Yeah, we'll
you
have
can
to
actually watch the whole thing.
I'm getting Mortal Kombat vibes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? The Mortal Kombat independent series they did?
Yeah.
They get the Brit vibe, and it's like, oh, okay.
Oh, that's a cool look. That's a good look for
And I
her.
loved in this that she was doing Greco-Roman grappling and things like that. She wasn't doing a lot of martial arts or anything.
Yeah, no karate. This is another example where they get the choreography really good.
That's a good casting choice.
Yeah, she looks great. I'm not a fan of the booty shorts personally, but
That's gonna be kind of a fight that happens with Wonder Woman anyway, though.
Yeah, because I mean, you've got to find that balance if you're going to try and be true to the costume. You know, the swimsuit trunks don't always work.
yeah, but
It's like, but I guess like that. I got such a kick out of this one because there's so many bits that are so good in this.
Wow, that's a cool shot.
Isn't it though?
Huh. Well, this is for a fan film. This is pretty darn good.
Yeah. I was so shocked when he said it was a fan film because I was like, why did this not pick up? And it's like, oh, okay.
Wow, you got the right logo and everything.
It's like you can find some art on the internet if you try. It's like people are amazing.
And I will say this, Jesse Johnson has worked in Hollywood and he has done stuff in Hollywood. So this is one of those where a professional wanted to do something Wonder Woman so bad that he just went and did it.
Yeah.
But nothing ever came of it, huh? They didn't bother to say let's make a full film.
No.
Yeah, I think that the bit that he'll send is about all it got, but it's one of those once I saw it, I was like, oh, this should have been something.
yeah.
Yeah. And then video 15, we're at 2016 Batman versus Superman.
Dawn of Justice.
First appearance of Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman.
I mean, it's one of the most exciting parts of the movie.
It is definitely.
Yes.
Basically the highlight for me.
Yeah.
on the third floor.
And I'm just going to say this really quick. I think the reason why this film didn't work is that he took 5 of the biggest scenes from 5 of the different stories in the Batman Superman universe and mashed it all together and said, okay, let's try to make a story out of it.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we just want to make things
Yeah,
look.
but to be fair, this particular fight scene was incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, they had some good fight scenes and stuff, but as a story, as a cohesive story, I mean,
Yeah,
they took
I
parts
mean,
of Doomsday, they took parts of Death of Superman, they took parts of Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, the story for me will always be best in the animated series, to be perfectly honest. But
Oh, so true.
as far as like that fight scene that was just on a moment ago, when I was in the theater and I saw that, I was like, wow, we finally got a live-action Batman fight sequence that felt like I was watching Batman.
Right. Well, and that's kind of on brand for that director anyway. It's like he makes good money shots.
Yeah, he does.
But then you try to put it in a story, and it's like, oh dang. Okay.
He doesn't pay attention to character and he doesn't pay attention to story. That's my opinion.
It's a little clunky, I think, is probably what it suffers from.
Yeah.
It definitely feels clunky, but I don't know. This franchise gets way too much hate, in my opinion, and the Nolan trilogy gets way too much love, honestly.
I agree.
I kind of agree.
I don't hate the Nolan trilogy by any stretch of the imagination. We won't go there, but there's a lot.
There's some mud to tread through. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not Jesse Eisenberg-less Luthor mud.
No, but here's the deal. Like, I didn't feel like in the Dark Dark Knight trilogy, I never truly felt like I was watching Batman. I always felt like I was watching a guy being Batman, and the sequences in these newer ones.
It's kind of like they never actually call her Catwoman. She's just Selena. You know, I mean, how long did it take them to actually call Scarlett Johansson Black Widow in universe to actually call her Black Widow? Because I remember, like, early on in the MCU, I was talking about Black Widow to one of our friends that's not a comic book person. They're like, who's that? I'm like, you've only just seen her in like 3 movies. I'm like, oh, is that her name? Because they don't ever call her that.
Yeah.
And that was kind of
Natasha all the time. Natasha.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing that they did in the Nolan trilogy. Is, I mean, Batman was the only one you really called Batman, because technically I don't think they ever called the Scarecrow. They just kept calling him Crane, right?
Right.
You know? And
the problem with that is they gave the franchise over to somebody who wanted to ground the characters so much that he removed all the fantastical elements out of it.
Yeah.
So video 16, 2016 is Justice League Action.
This is a great show.
It is a great show. So basically, they instead of doing like the Bruce Timm universe where they had the ongoing backstories and all of the cohesive serialized understory, they went back to what they did with the Super Friends, and they, instead of it being a half-hour show, it's 2 15-minute stories inside, and
which are really two 11-minute stories if you want to be technical.
Right, not counting commercials, right? But still, it was really fun because it went back into like Brave and the Bold. They pulled out a lot of characters and they put Firestorm in it. So
it's Brave and the Bold sort of animation styling with some of the seriousness of the Justice League series. It's a blend.
The most interesting thing about this particular Wonder Woman in the Justice League Action is this is post DC 52. And so this is the first comic book or animated series or anything on screen where they show a romance between Wonder Woman and Superman. They actually go on a date. Clark and Diana go on a date and stuff like that. So following like the New 52 Wonder Woman Superman romance thing, which I never ever got, like ever growing up, ever. This is the first time they did that. So, and she was an interesting version.
Yeah. And then video 17, we get the 2017 Wonder Woman with Gal Gadot.
Finally we get Wonder Woman on the big screen in 2017, and it did really good. I mean, it was celebrating one of DC's top films and at Warner Brothers.
Well, and I was actually just talking about this one at work today, because one of my favorite scenes for this Wonder Woman is No Man's Land.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's because Patty Jenkins had to fight to get No Man's Land in there. The executives didn't want it in there, and she had to fight to get it in there.
And it's considered like the best scene by most people.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's it. Like I said, that's it. I'm saying it all the time. I'm like, that's the money shot. That's the moment where you didn't. It's like if you didn't get chills, it's like,
this is where she first sees the bullet for the first time.
Yeah. But it's one of those. This is a defining moment for her character.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, for me, my favorite moment in this film is after she saved the village.
Yeah.
And she's looking around at all the people celebrating, and she's got so much love in her eyes as she's looking at all the people. And I was like, that's when she won me over, and I was like, that's wonderful.
Whoever you are.
Yeah, well, it goes back to that example of, you know, yes, she can handle herself in a fight. Yes, she's a fighter, but she is passionate.
Yeah.
Who is this woman? She's my secretary.
I did very much. I love the actress who plays Anna Candy.
She was amazing
in that.
All I gotta say is I wanted more of her.
Now, one thing, if y'all notice in the trailer, they show the photograph of her with her companions that they took at the end of the No Man's Land when they took back the town, which is, of course, a plot point in Batman vs Superman. Is Bruce Wayne had the picture?
Well, yeah, because at the beginning of this Wonder Woman,
Wayne's is the original.
Yeah, because it comes off of a Wayne Enterprises armored armor.
Correct.
So.
But the interesting thing about that is, recently Zack Snyder has been working on his new re-edit for the Justice League for HBO Max, right?
Snyder Cut.
Yep.
The Snyder Cut.
Yes, for HBO.
And it was released that originally there was a different stand-in photograph because his original idea for Wonder Woman was not World War I or World War II, but instead the Crimean War.
Because that was the first war where they had photographs.
Yes. And so there is actually, he released a picture originally, and it had Wonder Woman with a completely different group of people, and she was holding a bag of severed heads.
It wasn't a bag.
It wasn't a bag?
She was holding
No,
the
she
hair.
was holding the severed heads.
She was holding the severed heads by their hair.
Oh my God.
And so we're talking about 8 to 10 severed heads.
Yeah, it was pretty
Grisly.
and pretty.
Not what Wonder Woman would do.
No.
It's like, and it's one of those we're harping on the, oh God, she's too violent a lot, but it's like it's a hard balance of them trying to figure out how do you make someone who literally grew up a warrior still be able to fight without being violent, because it's like she's had to cross the line a couple times.
No, and she has, but that's the thing though, is a lot of the original, the Golden Age stuff, the warrior training and everything she received
It's like Shaolin Monk.
is akin to Shaolin Monk. It wasn't because they saw themselves ever going back to war. It was a way of them learning to be able to master themselves and everything, like the Shaolin monks use with Kung Fu or with their martial arts. But they were a highly advanced, both technological and scientific society coming to man's world. She was a teacher and a diplomat. Yes, she was a capable warrior. But capable warrior was third in the line of teacher and diplomat.
Well, and it's like thinking of like because we saw this at the Bob Bullock, and the initial thing they talked about were warrior races of women. So it's like there's still kind of a balance there where it's like they're trying to figure out how far over the line can we go, and it's like it's like, because one of the people we talked about one of the things someone talked about in the chat, it's like from one of our people, Wonder Woman's literally based on violence. The first version was changed because she killed people. It's like, I don't personally know that far back to verify.
I mean, that goes the same with Batman. When he was introduced, he carried a gun and shot people.
Yeah.
He actually like the scene in Watchmen where Rorschach burns a guy inside of a house. That was actually taken from Batman, because the Hugo Strange Batman stood outside the house and Hugo Strange was inside the house, and he stayed outside the house to make sure Hugo Strange burned inside the house.
Yeah.
People don't
that was Batman back in the Golden Age.
people don't seem to remember this whenever there's discussion about Batman and murder in the movies, because everyone likes to hate on.
Like, no, he doesn't kill. That's like he
well, but he does. That's what I'm. That's why I was, like
he still does, but it's like
I went back and watched the '89 Batman recently, and there's murder in that movie. But no one ever talks about that. They just want to talk about how Batfleck is the one who.
It was the same thing with Superman killing Zod, and everybody flipped out. I'm like, every single version of Superman
always kills.
He kills Zod. Like, technically, he didn't strangle Zod to death in the old movies, in the Christopher Reeves movie, but he dropped him powerless and helpless down a cavern in the Arctic. That's like icy water. He's dead. He killed him.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't squish his guts out, but he killed him.
Yeah.
Let's be honest here. And even in the comic book, even in the most modern age, when Zod his first encounter with Zod, he ends up killing them, all three of them, and that's when in the modern age post-Crisis Infinite Earth is when he decides that he will never kill again.
Yeah.
But he had to kill.
Zod is not the exception to the rule. Zod is the reason for the rule.
Yeah.
Right.
You know.
So now we'll go to video 18 real quick. 2018 Justice League movie. So this one obviously was a troubled shoot because Zack Snyder had to leave towards the end. It's debated whether he left because of his daughter's suicide, which is a very sad thing, or if Warner Brothers was asking him to step
I was
aside.
looking for an excuse to have him step
really?
aside. Yeah.
I see. I never heard.
I haven't heard that argument.
I have.
I knew about his daughter, and that was what I had always understood was he left because of family
So
issues.
Joss Whedon came in and he said he wasn't going to change much, but
he did.
He changed a lot. And what I understand, a lot of that was from the Warner Brothers executives saying they didn't like what Zack Snyder was doing, and that's why they asked him to leave. So they wanted him to redo the movie. So they did a lot of reshoots. And I personally don't agree with some of the reshoots. They depowered Wonder Woman for one thing.
Well, yeah. But one of the big things with the Snyder universe is how many of those movies have lost their directors, citing creative differences with the established universe that he's created.
Yeah.
He has gone on record way before he ever made these series of movies, when he was doing Watchmen, he has gone on record as how much he hates this genre of superhero.
Yeah.
Why they gave it to him in the first place.
He's still mind blowing.
Yeah.
Like he literally, in an interview, said the only way that Batman would be interesting to him is if he got raped in prison. That's like literally because of it.
So, needless to say, I'm interested to see what he does with his Snyder Cut for 4 hours. Especially, I'm looking forward to seeing with Wonder Woman, and I'm looking forward to Cyborg, because before Cyborg got severely shafted in the Joss Whedon cut. And I think Wonder Woman did too, because I mean she was severely depowered even from her movie, which had just come out. And I mean because she is equal to Superman, not superior.
It's like, are you invested? Are you gonna go see the Snyder? Are you gonna see the Snyder Cut?
Who, me?
Maybe temporary.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I actually. I mean, I guess I'm the only person in the room, but I like the stuff that he did with this franchise.
Cool.
And
I'm okay with what he did with Batman.
I really want to see what it looks like when he's not being tampered with. And
I agree.
Supposedly, much of the footage that he's adding to it is stuff that he'd already filmed that was just locked away.
Well, I also heard he wasn't
they cut out like I think 80% of his footage that he shot was not used in the
He's
film.
got like a half dozen. What?
It's hard to say. I've also heard the rumor that he's only putting like 13 minutes back in or something like that. So
yeah,
it's
10 to 13.
I don't know if we're like someone had told me that he said you probably are expecting more than what you're going to be getting, and so I'm not going to hold my breath too much, but I'm excited to see what he puts out. I mean, the shots with Darkseid looked really good, and that to me was the biggest problem with the whole thing was they kept referencing Darkseid and then he never shows up.
Yeah,
I did like the stills I saw.
The thing, okay, all right. This is the thing that bugged me the most about the Justice League movie. The one thing that I just cannot forgive.
That it ended? No, I'm kidding.
It's the same. Hold on. It's the same plot as the Superman movie. Man of Steel, the Kryptonians were trying to terraform the Earth so they can evade, and then Justice League, it's the Apocalyptians that are terraforming the Earth to evade. Like to me, that was just so unimaginable.
But who do you blame for that? It isn't like Zack Snyder is the one writing all the scripts.
I don't know who to blame for it. I don't know who to blame for it. I'm just saying, with very few movies in that universe, for two of them to have the same plot ultimately, that's just a letdown to me.
It's like, that'll be a later episode.
Yeah.
I mean, if they bring in Zack and they say, Zack, we want you to direct this movie. We already have someone who wrote the script. We already have all the actors. We just want you to direct it. I understand the disappointment, but at the end of the day, he's not going to go, well, I won't do it until you rewrite the script. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I thought that Zack Snyder was like a major creative force in the writing of the scripts too. I thought that was the whole point of these films.
Well, like I said, I don't know who to blame. I just don't like that ending.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know if we got this image because I put it up late, but image 18A is the 2018 DC Superhero Girls.
Yeah.
I really liked what they did with this. It's not a strict following of what happened in the comics, obviously.
They had to somehow make everybody in high school age.
Yeah, everybody's high school. All the like the villains are superhero girls as well. Harley Quinn especially, and Poison Ivy, and then them. They're all like in the same school. And Amanda Waller is the principal, which is kind of scary if you think about it.
I will level with you. It is not a show that I have taken part in watching.
Yeah, I've not.
Yeah, it's definitely.
We watched
It
bits
has
and
a
pieces.
specific audience.
We watched bits and pieces of it specifically for research purposes. Just
I
so
mean,
we-
I'm not putting him down for watching it or even for making the show. But at the end of the day, if you tell me the idea is we're gonna take all these classic characters and make them younger and put them in high school together, my immediate response is to roll my eyes.
Yeah.
It's
It was our response too.
But you know
But
what?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed what I watched.
I really did appreciate though that it was a marketing attempt to sell girls as not girly. And so for that, I think it was important, especially in merchandising. It was the first time that like the stores didn't know what to do with the toys because they were kind of more action figure than dolls. You know, it was the first like Target specifically had to deal with them to have merchandise 6 months ahead of everybody else.
So to play off of your merchandise comment, though, I am going to throw out there that something that I think is gross, and I don't like this, is how they've taken the female power aspect of storytelling, and now they're just trying to find ways to exploit it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Gotcha
So,
there.
I'm not against female power, for the record. I'm just against the
Exploitation.
now that we know that it sells, we're gonna find a way to like throw it in there every single time we can, just so we can market it.
Right. Well, and it's I mean, just a kid growing up in the 90s where I was constantly being marketed to, it's a real fine line of like
Sure.
is straight up exploitation and what's just people think it's exploitation.
Do you know who had a really great blend of just everything as far as character goes? I would say is Supergirl from the Superman animated series.
Uh-huh.
As far as like a female character is concerned, I always liked how they handled her.
I like how they ended with her when she left to the future.
You do or you don't like that?
I do. I love that.
Yeah,
I
thought that was good
because
too.
it's her birthday, and Clark respected her and let her, and she had her own mind, and she went to the future of Brainiac. And so
I thought that was great as well, and but as far as Wonder Woman, she's an interesting character, but there's a lot of stuff you have to sort of extend your disbelief with all of the Greek gods and all that stuff. There's a lot of they're asking you a lot. They're asking you to
Well, I think that's why they killed them all off in the Wonder Woman movie. I think that's why they killed off all the gods in the Wonder Woman movie. It's like, okay, we're going to do away with all this, so that's not an element.
Yeah, that's probably true. Because the animated one that you guys brought up earlier, I liked how they handled the God of War in that animated movie, but in the live action Wonder Woman film,
not as much.
The Ares stuff, I lost so much interest in
the Ares stuff was good up until the final fight.
That's what I'm talking about. The final fight sequence, I just did not care at all.
Yeah.
Also, I will say that Patty Jenkins has come on record as saying that the Warner Brother executives came in last minute and demanded that she do that fight scene at the end.
That it be more actiony. They wanted a bigger climax.
That's unfortunate because that's like
she
the
told
worst.
them that she didn't have time to do it properly, and they said, "We don't care. We want you to do it." And so that's what happened.
It feels like what you just described.
Yeah.
Yeah. And nothing against the actor who played Ares, because he was great when he was like the Ares in hiding in the subterfuge. That was great.
Yes. He's a great actor. That actor
just looked silly with CG. Like
if
he has the power to change his body to be like giant or whatever, then he could change his face to a less.
It's one of those.
You could have another actor.
I understand the casting choice because this is timid-looking guy becomes scary werewolf, but also like I didn't care for the casting.
Like even if they had the helmet where it just has like from the comics where it's got the dark end and you can't really see the face, that would have been fine.
And it kind of cheapens what.
But his
what
face
the
tacked
story
on
was
his
leading
CGI
to,
thing,
too.
just distracting.
Because it's like they were trying to.
Go ahead,
Go ahead.
Part of the problem with at least what I've noticed with Hollywood is when you have a big A-list celebrity, and you bring them in, and you bring them into a movie where they have to have their face covered, it's like they don't want to do that. Like that's going to break the contract or something. I don't agree with that. But if you think about like Spider-Man 3, the whole thing with Topher Grace, we didn't need to be reminded every 5 seconds that it was Topher Grace behind the black mask.
Yeah, right.
But they kept revealing his face, and you're like, yeah, I get it. You're Topher Grace. I get it.
Yeah, that's kind of the reaction we've had with Topher Grace for a couple of years.
Hugo Weaving as V was amazing.
Okay, no.
Oh my God.
That was really, yes. And
I mean, it just goes to show you the level of acting skills that man has.
Yes.
To be able to make that mask that doesn't move have so much emotion.
But I love, you got to give credit to the designers, though. They managed to create this bizarre melding of expressions. So, like, with his body language, it gave the illusion that the face was changing. Because you could see when he was sad, and you could see when he was excited, you could see when he was angry, and it all emoted with the same mask.
Yeah. It was impressive.
Yeah.
So, but Hugo Weaving's amazing. So video 19, we're going to go to the 2019 Scooby-Doo and Guess Who with Wonder Woman.
Yeah, we're almost there, guys. Thank you for bearing with us.
Yeah.
The newest Scooby-Doo cartoon on the Boomerang channel is basically harkening back to the days of the Scooby-Doo movies. So it's all guest stars. So there's some great guest stars.
This one was delightful.
Mark Hamill, Whoopi Goldberg, Wanda Sykes. There's even one with Ricky Gervais.
No, I
Weird Al
like
Yankovic.
Yeah, that was a great
I like the back-to-back from Mark
I
Hamill.
don't have a lot of
Because they've
experience
got
with
the
teenagers.
Scooby-Doo
That
Guess
is to
Who,
say,
and it's
you are
Joker.
very strange.
And then the next episode is Mark Hamill. And I love it because Mark Hamill actually makes reference to the Joker episode. And they're like, how do you know about that? Well, I have my ways.
Lose him again.
That was actually one of the best episodes of Justice League Action, though, because Mark Hamill also did the voice of Swamp Thing on that.
He did.
And he was the trickster in the Flash TV show.
Flash. Yeah.
So they did an episode on Justice League Action where like it's Mark Hamill gets kidnapped by the Joker and Trickster, and Swamp Thing has to save him. So basically, he's voicing all four characters.
Yeah. Yep.
At least
It's a trip.
could understand.
Brilliant. But we're here to talk about Wonder Woman,
Wonder
not
Woman.
as much as we love Mark
Say
Hamill, not
we do
Mark
this
Hamill.
together.
Right, because this
We'll
was such a
bend the
cute
rules a
episode.
bit.
And what's really funny is because we went back and we found that we went back and found that Brady Bunch
Then we will
episode,
bring that
and
minotaur
there's
down
so
as
many
well.
parallels that it's amazing. Because like they go to Greece and then they fight the Minotaur, and it's really funny because Thelma, she's ready to kill the Minotaur because she thinks it's a Minotaur, like a magical animal. And
But this is Scooby-Doo we're
with this
talking about.
Scooby-Doo, and so Thelma's like, no, it's a dude in a mask.
Yeah, I was
Velma.
about to say Velma. I was
Sorry,
like, I haven't
Velma.
seen the episode, so I'm like,
But Velma's like, no, it's a dude in a mask. You can't kill him. It's not really a Minotaur. And so that's the whole premise is like she's got to go to kill the Minotaur, and they're like, no, it's not really a Minotaur. It's really funny.
I love her scenes with Scooby.
Yes.
Oh yes, and Shaggy is really jealous.
Shaggy gets super jealous.
Because she loves Scooby, and like Scooby rides an invisible plane with her and everything, and Shaggy's like all jealous. Yeah,
Even though he's afraid of flying.
it's cute. It's really cute.
So now we'll go to video 20, 2019 Wonder Woman Bloodlines animated movie.
And is it a sequel to the other one, or is it
No.
like a whole
No,
different?
it's not. It's just another Wonder Woman movie.
This one was okay. I like that they had different villains in it.
And I guess it's not going to play.
Oh, okay.
I think Cheetah was in this one, if I'm not mistaken.
Cheetah was in it. They also had
Silver Swan.
Silver Swan. They had a lot of different characters.
Yeah, the Silver Swan was made with
Giganna was in it, wasn't she?
Apocalyptic technology, wasn't she? In this one,
I don't remember how they transform her in this one, but yeah, it was actually a team up of her villains.
yeah.
And it was good. It was.
Does that
It
bring
was
us?
fun.
Does that bring us to present day 1984?
Yeah,
Video number 21, 2020, Wonder Woman 1984. Here we go.
I want to see how many clips we made.
So many haters of this movie.
I
out
guess it's
there.
not going to play either.
You know, I find it interesting how polarizing this movie is.
I loved it. I saw it at the Bullock IMAX.
I'm one of the few people that I have been able to talk to that is on the fence. I enjoyed the movie.
I like it too.
Understand why other people did not.
It was one of those. I had a good time when I saw it.
Yeah.
I get it though.
I watched it. We all saw it in the bullet.
They saw it.
We saw it.
I actually had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun watching it. But if you were to ask me to come in and direct a Wonder Woman movie, would I have made the choices they made? No, I would not have.
I will say that I think that they did things in this movie that they have never done in any other superhero film. I especially love how Wonder Woman interacted with kids in this film.
Yeah, sure.
And at the ending, you had your fight scene, and as everybody's like, oh, you nerfed Cheetah by making her basically an enforcer, or not the main villain or whatever. But no, it's like a great way to have it. I don't want to spoiler it in, but I love it. This ball, it's the same ball from Stranger Things.
Yeah.
It cracks me up. Like it's like the new perfect 80s mall or something. We're gonna see like everything in the 80s in this mall.
Now, and because it's in the trailer, I am going to go ahead and talk about this. I like how she's taking out all the cameras so that there's still no physical records of her.
Yeah,
because that's what leads everyone to the question about, the Batman versus Superman and even Justice League.
Why knows about her?
Yeah, why doesn't anyone know about her? Well, I imagine by the next movie, and the introduction of the internet and how much easier it is to get seen is probably going to be introducing why she's going, I'm stepping back.
Yeah, at this point, she has the resources to erase herself from that kind of stuff. She can even go back and get the footage and stuff. Now, I will say that the action was good. It was fun. The interactions were good. I loved Pedro Pascal as Max Lord. I mean, he didn't chew it up quite as bad as Ewan McGregor did in Birds of Prey, because that was like the most that you can tell he enjoyed.
Pedro Pascal's just a delight.
Putting it into it.
Yeah.
And a little thing, Pedro Pascal was actually in the 2011 Wonder Woman pilot.
He was a detective. Yes.
It was such a cute surprise.
It was
like,
weird.
oh.
Yes, he was the detective in that. So.
Okay.
So I have heard some of the complaints of this film, especially when it comes to consent. I will say right off the bat that this was a trope in the 80s. There were several movies that were made like this called
Body
Switch.
Swap.
Swap. There was it would happen in the comic books a lot.
Oh yeah,
there was a big trope in the 80s.
Vice versa. There was like at least I can think of like 5 movies.
So that's what she was playing on.
Oh, like Freaky Friday, you mean?
Yeah.
But in Freaky Friday, most of the body switch stuff, they evenly swap bodies. It's
But also,
what was the one with?
It's like this wasn't necessarily just a body swap. It's this specific guy who's dead took over this guy's body, which is.
But the question is, was Steve Trevor actually reincarnated in that body, and so that was actually Steve Trevor? It's just his memories got brought to the fore.
Even then, it's like the guy is still there because he had enough awareness that at the end they have the thing where he's wearing the outfit that she recommended. Yeah. So it's like we're getting into weird muddy space, and even then, just because it was a trope then doesn't mean it.
Here's my 2 cents on that storyline. Only because Wonder Woman and Superman are very, very powerful characters, and they've said it multiple times in the animated stuff that the big weakness against them is going to be magic. So I was, even though I don't love the way they did that story, I was like, I'm kind of glad there's a magic story because
they could have yada yada it differently, but it was one of those. The heart was still there.
Right.
It just.
Yeah. Ultimately, it came down to what are the rules. They didn't really clarify what the rules of the magic were. Did it create things?
No, they did not. The rules changed a lot. The goalposts kept changing.
Careful about.
Yeah. No, I don't want to spoil it, but
there are decisions that they made in that movie they didn't dwell on.
Yeah.
Which it was kind of jarring once you sit back and you're like, oh wait.
The movie was full of Deus Ex Machina, is what that was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But you know what? At the same time, it was entertaining. It was fun. They were good with the characterization was right on point. And yes, I know the nerdy glasses drops the paper trope like every single villain. And But it worked, and Kristen Wiig did it so well.
Kristen Wiig was amazing.
She was fantastic.
Her transformation was amazing.
It wasn't like a switch, you know. I mean, it was.
She did it very subtly and progressively, and she did a phenomenal job.
And you really felt that character, even though you knew that they were wrong, you understood why. You know, so that's a big thing.
And also, I thought Wonder Woman's growth through this series, the movie was also really amazing. And I just thought that, you know, there was so many wonderful things about this film, and it really was what I wanted it to be, I guess.
I'll tell you, Greg. Like, and I'll probably catch some flack for saying this, but of course there are always exceptions to the rule. But I'm not a big fan of the Marvel stuff in general. I have stuff that I like in Marvel, but I mean, as far as the cinematic universe goes, I don't love the way they tell their stories. The first Wonder Woman movie from a few years ago felt like a Marvel movie to me, and this one did not. And that's the reason why I had more fun watching this one.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I
Because
can see that.
this one was more in the vein of how Shazam and Aquaman were done.
Yes, it was very Shazam, and I was like, you know what? That's great because she's very powerful. How do you take her down? And magic is this thing that you kind of can't really argue with because it's magic.
Yeah. And also, I like the visual tone of it. Yes, the first one set in World War I. It made sense. My mother, she did not like it. My mother is like, that's not Wonder Woman. She just could not see Wonder Woman as that.
As what? As what?
As the warrior in the World War II and not
really
World War I.
World War I,
Yeah, my mom didn't like it, but unfortunately my mom passed last year. But if she would have been here to watch,
she would have enjoyed this.
She would have liked this one. She would have liked this one. She would have understood the origin part of it. I think it bogged her down. She didn't really get it.
I'll say one very cryptic thing because I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but you guys will know what I'm talking about. There's a point in the movie where they keep building up to a interesting use of protection for Wonder Woman, and then it's kind of a dead moment because the protection almost instantly becomes useless and destroyed.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Why was that even in there?
Action figures.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Oh well, okay. Maybe. Sure.
Yeah, and but real quick, we're gonna tell our guests. This is like normally would be like a cutoff point, and so everybody watching, make sure you go to Kaiju Lab Media's on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Tell us what you think. Give us ideas. And before we get too much further, I really want to thank our special guest Phil Machi for helping and talking about his animated project, and he's an animation expert.
It's like contribute to the Kickstarter. It sounds awesome.
It's going to be amazing.
So, but before we get
if you're trying to find the link for it, you can I think you can just search my first and last name on. Well, actually, I will tell you this because even though it hasn't officially launched until Thursday, it's in a soft launch period, so you can find it right now. It actually, I don't think I told you this, Greg. It was recently named by Kickstarter as a hashtag Project We Love. Which
nice!
Which is like 1% of the Kickstarter or something like that. It's a real minute percentage of Kickstarter projects get that delineation. So if you look under their main page under the Projects We Love tab, you'll find it there too.
Look at you!
That is awesome.
Congratulations.
So we might even have you back when we do our superpowers episode because. We're going to talk about that.
I don't have any powers. My powers are very much in the realm of my own head.
No, the superpowers action figures from the 80s.
Oh, well, that's okay.
Yeah, we're gonna do some special editions on toy lines and stuff. But
very cool.
We're also, of course, superpowers. The one of the last seasons of Super Friends.
Super Friends, and they changed it. It was one of the first multi-platform marketing attempts that DC did. But real quick, what do we want from Wonder Woman from the future? And I'm going to let our guests tell us first.
What do we want from Wonder Woman? I would say my favorite scene in the new movie, which doesn't spoil anything, is the mall scene, and particularly because of the interaction that Greg mentioned with her and the little girl. And I feel like we want to have a character who is strong, but also has a real good sense of honor, and that she respects her position of power. I feel like if you keep to that core of the character, then that'll kind of be a guiding light for anything they do going forward.
Yeah. Then, I agree with you, and it just occurred to me, compare her in that scene where she manages to go through the entire mall and she only breaks 2 cameras to protect her identity.
And she's intentionally guarding people.
And she's
from getting
intentionally
hurt.
guarding versus Superman and Man of Steel, who destroys the pavement every time he takes off and lands. And you kind of can't I hated the whole pitting Batman and Superman together the way they did it, but you kind of get where that fire was started with Bruce Wayne, because he's not as conscious. So that's a good contrast.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to speak next because I actually sent in to HBO Max because I heard that they're planning on doing a continuation of the Batman animated series, which I think is amazing and I hope happens.
It's rumored right now. It's rumored.
Just rumors.
Yeah, but I sent in that if they're going to do that, they ought to do a Wonder Woman to branch to do the trip to be able to do the 3 together, the full 3. Because Wonder Woman didn't get that treatment because, of course, the Wonder Woman and the Star Riders. So I would love to see what Bruce Timm and Paul Dini and all them would do with
Wonder Woman the animated series.
To be honest, as much as Batman the animated series is one of my top 3 favorite cartoons of all time, I don't want to see them go back and remake that show or keep going with it. I actually would rather see what you said, which is let's give Wonder Woman a chance at having an animated series of her own.
I'll let Batman and Superman show up sometime, but
I mean, if you want to, but really, they didn't do too much of that. I mean, it wasn't until the later part of Batman the animated series did they ever do any crossover with Superman. It wasn't really very often.
Well, it wasn't until it became the Batman Adventures.
Right. The only thing I will toss in there, again, I'm not trying to do spoilers, but the new movie has this cataclysmic, world-shattering thing happen to it in the new movie. And my only complaint was, I know it's earlier, it's in the 80s, but in my mind, was there no other superpowered entity that was seeing this stuff happening?
Well, that's the conundrum that you get with Marvel Cinematic Universe, is because in the movies, you can't just have the actors in the comic books. You're used to them being able to cross over because you can always draw another superhero in there from someplace else,
Right.
But on the screen, to get those other people in there, for instance, they had to release a mini-series about War Machine to explain where he was in Avengers 1. Because, alien invasion, obvious, all hands on deck.
Right.
Rhodey had his own suit by then. Why wasn't he helping? And there's actually a comic book explaining that. But that's where you come to. It gets harder. The more you branch out, the harder it is to say, well, these guys are they live down the street. Why aren't they here helping? Because, they're right there. But, getting the actors is really difficult.
Supposedly they're making an Amazon's movie, and they're a spin-off Amazon movie, and they're also making a 3rd Wonder Woman movie. And supposedly the 3rd Wonder Woman movie will be taking place in modern time.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I think that's probably
Wonder Woman 3 got greenlit, and they're fast tracking it.
As long as it stays with, it doesn't have to necessarily have the cheesy plots, but as long as it stays with the tone,
right. Look, we have a god in the first one. We have magic in the second one. I would love the 3rd one to have nothing to do with either one of those.
Yeah, but what would that be?
I don't know her rogues gallery really all that well.
Her top rogue,
I would love to see Giganta.
Her top rogues that would leave, it would be Cheetah, Giganta, and Cersei. And Cersei, obviously, magic.
I think
honestly, I would bet you anything if there's a 3rd movie, Cersei's going to be the villain.
Cersei would be a good choice. Cersei would be a good choice. I would say her and bring Cheetah back, honestly.
Yeah, and Cersei would have the power to do that because she turns people into animals.
Well, there you go. Then that's it. That's perfect.
Yeah. So, but that's it's a magic. But I will bet you anything that's going to be the go-to because Ares, Cersei, Cheetah, and Giganta are her main rogues. And
I wouldn't mind seeing Giganta, honestly. If they wanted to put Cheetah on hold for a while, that's fine. And maybe do make a movie where it's all about the brawn kind of stuff. You know, her versus the other powerful chick. I think that would be really great.
Right? There's a way to get that whole, her being a tough warrior thing out.
Yeah, there you go. That's it right there.
Yeah. If they want to get that out of their system, that would be a good person.
It'd be a good David and Goliath story.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that would be. Yeah, like at first, like, every time Greg says Giganton, I'm like, I don't see it. I have a hard time in my head seeing it play out in live
Just go look up Attack of the 50-Foot Woman and tell me that wouldn't be fun again.
Well, that's what she was created after. She was created as an homage to the 50-Foot Woman. That's exactly what the creators were thinking. In fact, I don't know. I still have a problem with Giant Man in Ant-Man when he goes big. Some of it's like.
We're not gonna even go to Ant-Man. We're not even gonna talk about Ant-Man.
I love Ant-Man. I love Ant-Man.
Give it time. Give it time, man.
But every time that he does Giant Man, like the first time in Civil War was cool. They actually managed to play it, and I think his proportions are just right. But after that, the proportions were never right, and it always just felt off.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
you know what? I would die of laughter if all of a sudden Apache Chief comes in and stops Giganton.
Right? Give it time. We'll figure it out.
It's like, I'm 50 foot tall with a loincloth. And she's like, well, I'm 50 foot tall with a leopard wrap.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, no, I do think that Gigantor would be fun. I was kind of hoping that at the end of the Wonder Woman 84, that all of a sudden you'd see a shadow and Wonder Woman would turn around and there's Gigantor, and that's where it would end.
That would have been fun.
They could do that. The other thing they could do, if they really wanted to tie it into the Snyder universe stuff, which I think would be a cool way to do it, would be to bring in Big Barda and tie it to Apocalypse.
Yeah, nice. I know. That's another thing about the Snyder stuff is them using Apocalypse without using the New Gods.
Yeah.
Because we went through that with Smallville. I hated it on Smallville.
Why wouldn't you do? Her character is all about the traditional Greek gods. Why wouldn't you have her go against the New Gods? It's kind of a perfect way to go.
Yeah.
I guess they just never use them. Like I said, in Smallville, I was really excited when they were like saying they were going to start bringing in the Fourth World characters, and it was only Darkseid and Granny Goodness, and I think Glorious Godfrey was in it. But it was
they brought in what's his name, the general guy. They brought him in Justice League. No, they brought in who was the main bad? I'm drawing a blank. Who's the main bad guy in Justice League?
Steppenwolf.
Yeah, they brought in Steppenwolf. So I mean, they're already bringing in the fourth.
The bad ones, like they didn't bring Mr. Miracle, Big Barda, Orion, any
but
of them.
They could with a third Wonder Woman movie. They could totally do that.
Yeah, and for me, out of any of them, Orion would make the most sense, even more so than Big Barda, because he's steadfast, always there to try and stop Dad.
Right.
Sure.
You know?
Sure.
And he would have been an interesting character study because of literally his whole shtick is anger management. Like, he's Darkseid's son, but he was raised by the good gods, and he actually does he wear an image inducer to make himself look more normal?
Because, like, at one point he did. I think that's one of those things that kind of fell by the wayside, sort of like the fact that Jason Todd had red hair to begin with.
Right. But basically, yeah, he his whole thing is that he has to keep his anger in check because he's got, Darkseid in him.
You wouldn't like him when he's angry.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Exactly. Right. So he would have been an interesting character study. Maybe, I don't know. I mean,
it's one of the few times that it wouldn't absolutely annoy me that your two heroes start off in conflict with each other.
Oh, and also in the comics, Poison Ivy in the 60s actually, Poison Ivy was actually one of the villains as well.
Yeah. An interesting fact is Ava DuVernay. We're talking about Wonder Woman and Patty Jenkins getting paid finally a fair pay to do the movie. Another really big female director out there is Ava DuVernay, and she actually has been long rumored to be working on a New Gods-based property.
That'd be neat.
Yeah, she did.
I'm invested.
Yeah, she did the new Stitch in Time.
Yeah, she did.
and some other stuff. So she's really good. She's amazing visually.
Yeah,
so,
visually she is fantastic.
And storytelling, and so I would actually be interested to see that.
The only thing I would demand out of a fourth world movie is that they would have to raid Disney's prop room to Garrett Thor's helmet.
Yep. Yeah. And it's like
just so it can be discarded.
Just because you can throw it away.
It's like, I don't know. It's like, thank you guys again for enduring with us for so long since we're going over. It's like,
That just shows how much we love Wonder Woman.
Right, and I actually did have another question for our guests before we officially do all the wrapping up. Because I do this with all of the guests that have like some sort of expert or semi-expert opinion, whatever you think. It's like, because animation's my first love. Like, this is the stuff I got started with. This is how I got introduced to this stuff. If you were to recommend anything for anybody just starting out, or any like hidden gems that we should look at more, especially with Wonder Woman, what do you recommend?
It's not a hidden gem. I mentioned it earlier. Justice League and Justice League Unlimited that's my favorite version of her.
Okay, cool.
Really, Susan Eisenberg is my go-to Wonder Woman actress. I love how she captures her strength, but also how sometimes she's a little bit alien to this modern world that she's thrust upon. And she still will sort of say things like, well, I don't know what, she'll look at like a social thing. I can't give you an example right now, but
a social situation, and she's not sure how to handle
she'll think it's weird and she'll be awkward around it, but she's always going to be like steadfast, and I think that's really the best version of for me, that's the best version of the character that I've seen.
And I would honestly have to agree, because y'all know how much I complain about how they treat Wonder Woman these days.
Yeah.
And in the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, you get that compassionate, willing to help teach people, willing to help understand.
Right.
And yeah, you get those awkward social moments because she's not from this world.
Right. She has a real kindness to her voice.
Yeah.
But you also know that she's ready to throw down if necessary. And to me, that's
like that first episode. She stepped up, and she actually was the one who, like, at the end when they're all standing there together, she's the one who spoke for the Justice League. She's the one who, like, addressed everyone.
When I think Wonder Woman, that's like my brain goes there. That's my idealized version of her. Like, the Batman the Animated Series, that's my version of Batman. All those characters in those forms, that's to me the most perfect version of those forms. And so she is up there with all the rest of them as far as I'm concerned.
And that's probably a good accessible place for people to start.
Yes.
Because I'm sure it's hiding somewhere.
That's the reason that the Bruce Timm universe has been so prolific. I mean, they're still doing direct to video.
Yeah. I would love.
They're not really. So they're not doing what you're talking about in referencing to the Timmverse. They're not doing a lot of stuff with that anymore. What they're doing now is they actually just wrapped up their new 52. It's like 17 films or whatever. They just ended it with Justice League Dark 2. And so now what they're doing is these kind of one-off, kind of like how the cinematic universe is doing these one-off stories that are not part of a greater collective.
Yeah, one of the ones that has just been announced is a Justice Society animation with Stana Katic.
She was in the Castle.
I just have one question.
And that bomber as the
It
Flash.
doesn't have Stargirl in it, does it?
I don't know. I mean, Jeff Johns put Stargirl in everything, but
yeah.
But she was the lead detective in the Castle series with Nathan Fillion.
Okay.
Right.
She was the love interest.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, again, it's one of those. I don't really have anything against Stargirl. I in fact came to enjoy the TV series. But when they were doing the Arrowverse and they were putting Stargirl on the Justice Society, it's like, that makes zero sense to put her on Justice Society during World War II.
Yeah.
She was not around then.
Well, that's the interesting thing of Wonder Woman is that originally she was in the Justice Society until the Silver Age when they rebooted everybody. and she was no longer part of the Justice Society.
And then eventually Wonder Woman was a part of the Justice Society, but it turned out it was Hippolyta.
Her mom went back in time and then became Wonder Woman. That was really fun.
So I guess we're gonna wrap up, guys. You guys, thank you so much, Phil. We really appreciate you being here for the long haul.
Thanks for having me.
It was a real experiment. We haven't done video before while doing a show. We've had guests before, but we've usually done just static pictures, so it was really interesting seeing us being able to do video.
We hope you enjoyed it, and remember to like, subscribe, and follow Casualize Media on YouTube. You can find links on our webpage, bradsredweb.com, and we appreciate you coming.
And Phil, plug your podcast one more time.
Yeah.
Oh, just you can search for Stay Tuned. Tuned is spelled Tooned. You can find it in every podcast app, pretty much, I think.
Nice.
Yeah,
Very
excellent.
cool.
Awesome. Thank you again. We hope we have you back some other time, and we look forward to talking to you guys next episode. Not next week, but the next. What do we have lined up for them, guys? Oh, DC Future State.
Yeah, we got Future State news. We're gonna sit and gab about the news.
We're gonna sit and gab about the news coming up. So thanks again, and y'all have a great one. We'll see you next time here on the